Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind creation Miss Couture. In today's episode of In the Dye Pan, I am very excited for my redemption for the horror that happened when I was filming my speckle video. So in this episode I will show you what will actually happen when you create resist into your skein of yarn to to create beautiful negative space in your skein of yarn. So without further ado, let's get into this. So if you remember the last time we tried this, some of the errors I did was to not pre-soak the yarn in acid. So this time I did pre-soak all my skeins of yarn into an acid bath. So I only had I would say 1 or 2 tablespoons of citric acid with for about per skein of yarn because I wanted a lot of acid. And now I'm adding more acid into the pans, and I will be adding 2.5 cups of tap water because I'm going for a low immersion technique. And the last time another error I did was to add too much water into this. So this time I'm not adding as much water. I'm starting to heat my water right away, so that way it can start to be warmer and the skein will start to warm as well. So it's going to be easier for the color to strike to the yarn. And as you can see, I have twisted my skein for this experiment. I did about 4 or 5 twists in the skein, and I will be evening it out in the pan when I have both skein into it, so that way there's not as much space. So the yarn will take up most of it. And one important thing to do as well with your yarn is to make sure that you've squeezed out the excess water, so that way you're not adding more liquid into your in your dye pan. Also, we've started to heat the pan, so I'm going to be leaving it for about 5 to 10 minutes just to make sure that we have a good heat into it when we are going to be applying the dry pot. So another mistake I did last time is that I was using 2 different colors that have a tendency to take a longer time to strike to the yarn, and also has a tendency to spread a lot. So this time I'm using Plum Dandy and True Black from Dharma dyes. There will be a link in the description box below if you're interested in the dye powder I'm using. So those 2 colors don't strike, will strike faster to the yarn than what the other colors I was using in the first video, and you can already see that it's not spreading as much. The only reason we see a huge spot of this kind of pinkish reddish is because there's this spot that was not there was space between the 2 skeins basically, so that's why we have this spot that will be more prominent, but it's okay because the rest of the skeins looks good. And when you're speckling, you really don't need too much of it, and if you prefer, you can always measure your dry powder to make sure that you're not using too much. So it would be less than I would say less than a gram, that's for sure, but it's very, very little. Or you can also use the tiny measuring spoon that I have in my Amazon storefront as well. So I've waited for half an hour to let the dry powder sink into the skein and strike the yarn. So I'm just making sure that everything has been absorbed properly, and it looks pretty decent just once, but there was still a little bit of dry powder, but it's fine. It will create sort of a pinkish background, and we might be losing some of that color anyway in when we're going to be washing the yarn. So I will be turning it off the heat on my skeins, and I will let it settle for at least 45 minutes before checking if I can actually wash the yarn. So we will see you back when it's time to wash the yarn. And due to the nature of how the yarn have been dyed, I'm not expecting a whole lot of bleeding at all. And I've noticed with True Black and the Plum Dandy, which are the two of the colors that I've used, I don't usually have a whole lot of bleeding, even when I'm using a bigger quantity of dye. So you can see there's nothing in there. Even the dye bath was completely empty. So I'll wash this a little bit. I'm using a unscented eucalyptus soak that you can purchase anywhere, and after that I will put it in the spin dryer and I will leave it dry on the drying rack for about, I would say, 24 to 36 hours before it's fully dried. And we will see you with the final result in a second. Look at how neat and tidy this skein of yarn look now. It is exactly what I wanted to show you in the first episode, in the first place, when I first filmed the Speckle episode, where everything went wrong. But I'm so happy to be able to say that I've redeemed myself and I can show you that I can actually speckle yarn and it's not just a mistake or an accident when it looks nice and tidy. And you have some sharp speckles, some that are more of a splotch. And here we can compare to the first attempt. You can see how much more spread there is with the red and the greens. You can see that the reds have a tendency to spread much more than the green. I'm still happy with the result of like this sort of candy cane swirl color, but that was not what I was going for. So I'm very happy to say that I've redeemed myself, and that is fantastic. So if you've enjoyed this video, you're more than welcome to like the video, share. If you want to follow along the journey, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. I'm also present on other social platforms that you can find the links below in the description box. I will also have some affiliated links for any of the instrument and tools that I've used. And I also have links that are not affiliated for the product used in the video that you could enjoy as well. So with that, I will say a huge thank you for everyone for watching, and I will see you very soon.